What's going on, Pathways Church? I'm Jake Collins, your middle school pastor, and I'm excited to join you this week on Daily Dose. How many of you ever heard someone say that life is short? Maybe you've said those words yourself. Some people say things like this as an excuse to make certain decisions. For example, it can be a reason to buy your dream car. After all, life is short. Other times, it's more of a heartfelt challenge to make the most of those big moments of life. As busy as your life might get, don't miss any of your kids' soccer games. After all, life is short. In either of these uses, the point is perspective. When we consider the reality of eternity, we would have to admit that life is short. So, how do we live life with a healthy perspective on this? This perspective on life is the theme of the book of Ecclesiastes. In this book, we learn from a character called the teacher. The teacher covers many topics that he describes as havel. The NIV and other versions translate this word as meaningless. Chapter 1, verse 2 famously says, meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. Meaninglessness fits, but the image here is smoke. Smoke is temporary, it's fickle, it's also deceptive. It can appear solid, but moving your hand through it reveals that it's not. So the idea here is that we should be careful where we place priority, value, and purpose. We might find ourselves investing in things that will not last. Let's start in chapter 1, verses 16 through 18. We read, I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Now, let's be clear. Wisdom is not a bad thing. We have a whole section of the Old Testament known as wisdom literature, including Ecclesiastes. But wisdom is temporary and it's tricky. There does seem to be a correlation between knowledge and weariness. The more you learn, the more you realize that life is complicated. If you've ever been in a seminar-style class, you've probably had the experience of talking in circles for hours without really getting to any conclusions. Don't get me wrong, it can be really helpful and even enjoyable, but it would definitely fit this image of chasing after the wind. So yes, learn, study, grow, but keep perspective. Know that God himself is wise beyond what we can ever understand. Find peace in the fact that he knows all things, even those that are beyond our limited minds. And finally, use your wisdom and knowledge in ways that honor him. Use your fleeting vapor-like wisdom for an eternal kingdom purpose. That's all for today. Join me back here tomorrow on Daily Dose.